wonderful ones who braved the traffic, who braved the rain and the weather to come out and to celebrate together. And I'm so grateful that we get to be together to do this evening. We weren't able to be in the same room last year. We weren't able to be together for this service. It was something that we did, and we filmed, and then we put it out there, and there was something missing in it. And so we are so excited that we get to come back together tonight and sing together and celebrate the true meaning of this season, and just allow this Christmas holiday to live within us. And so I'm so joyful and happy to be able to welcome you this evening and let us begin. And so I'm going to invite Jim Willis to come forward and do our invocation. Thank you, Jim.
I know there is one power, one presence, one creator, one divine intelligence, which I call God. And I know that God is endowed with all the divine qualities of God, of freedom and justice and life and light, love and peace and joy, happiness, balance, beauty, divine wisdom, wholeness, and perfect health and abundance in all and everything. And I know that I, being created in the spiritual image and likeness of the one, that I too am endowed with all those same divine qualities. And as I know this to be true for myself, I know this to be true for each and every person within the sound of my voice. And I know and declare that tonight's service flows with grace and ease. That this candlelight service is full of joy and happiness. And that this service reminds us that light truly was one of the first creation of God. And that light resonates within each of us, bringing to us the love and life of God, which flows in, around, and through each and every one of us. So what I know, and I declare that it is all good, for it is all God, and I simply allow it to be, and so it is.
So it is. Thank you, Jim. Thank you. And so I think we have another song. So everybody, we're going to be standing up. We're going to feel like we're in the Greek church. We're going to stand up and we're going to sing "Hark the Herald Angels Sing."
Peace on earth. tonight around the time of the winter solstice, Tuesday, we move through the shortest daylight of our year. From this point, the days begin to grow longer. The winter solstice commemorates the beginning of the return of the sun in the winter sky after moving so far from the earth during the autumn season. The returning light enters the dark womb of the earth, bringing with it the promise of warmth and of life to come. The celebration of the midwinter return of the sun has always held a deep fascination for humanity. Long before the coming of Christianity, people all over the world celebrated the rising of the midwinter sun and the promise of a new year. Ancient peoples worried that when the sun went below the horizon, it might never return. And in order to prevent this, they practiced rites and rituals that would summon it back. Fire became an important part of these rituals, and a carefully attended fire would remain alive as a symbol of the hidden sun. And so many winter celebrations include the ritual lighting of candles. Dances were devised to enact the movement of the seasons, and masks and dolls were created in celebration. Many indigenous peoples built monuments and sun catchers to capture the first rays of the returning sun. Even today, a winter solstice is a time of celebration, of firelight, and of dreaming of what is yet to be. A time when seeds germinate in the cold earth and the land lies waiting. We often go for walks at this time of year, watching the winter sun and the bright stars. We join in caroling, and even those of us who do not raise our voice in song at any other time of the year. And just for a moment during this time, as the solstice sun moves across the sky, the season seems to reach a still point before the new year awakens. So tonight, in December of 2021, as metaphysicians, we join with the peoples of all time and all nations in celebrating the rebirth of the light on our planet and within our own beings. In the deepest, most beautiful sense, we know that this wonderful light of the sun, of the light of the one known as Jesus, the light of the sacred oil of Hanukkah, the light of every candle and flame everywhere, is a reflection of the light that lives within each of us. As we open to the light, we are reborn into a new way of being, a brighter truth, and greater light of understanding. Tonight, we welcome the light of God in ourselves, on our planet, and in every religion and in each other. We turn toward divine light and allow it to be all that we are. Tonight, we welcome the light.
So we have another one, Angels We Have Heard on High.
Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the plains, and the mountains in reply, echoing their joyous strains. Oh,
have a reading from the Gospel of Luke. And it happened in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus to take a census of all the people in his empire. The first census took place during the governorship of Quirinius in Syria, and every man went to be registered in his own city. Joseph also went up from Nazareth, a city of Galilee, to Judea, to the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and family of David, and with his bride Mary, while she was with child, that they may be registered there. And it came to pass, while they were there, that her days to be delivered were filled. And she gave birth to her firstborn son, and she wrapped him in swaddling clothes and laid him in a manger, because they had no room where they were lodging. Now, there were shepherds in that region where they were staying, and they were watching their flocks at night. And behold, the angel of God came to them, and the glory of the Lord shone over them, and they were seized with great fear. And the angel said to them, "Do not be afraid, for behold, I bring you glad tidings of great joy, which will be to all the world. For this day is born to you in the city of David a Savior, who is Christ the Lord. And this is a sign for you. You will find the babe wrapped in swaddling clothes and lying in a manger." And suddenly they appeared with the angels, a heavenly host, praising God and saying, "Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace and good hope for men." And it came to pass, when the angels departed from them and went to heaven, that the shepherds spoke to one another, saying, "Let us go to Bethlehem and see this thing that has happened, as the Lord has shown us." And they came hurriedly and found Mary and Joseph and the babe laid in the manger.
Thank you, Reverend Michael. And we're going to invite practitioner Julie Mims to come forward to share the metaphysical interpretation of the Christmas story.
Good evening. And it has come to pass, as it must at some time for all people, that there is sent out from the heart a decree that all the world of effects be accounted for. And all must go, each to that place where no one else may enter, the realm of the mind, which is Bethlehem. The shepherds were not content with just hearing of the miracle birth. They wanted to experience the wonderful thing that was told to them in the stillness of the quiet night as they watched their flock. They wanted to make it part of themselves. We follow their example tonight. Instead of watching the Christmas event from afar like a spectator, tonight we make the birth of the Christ a personal experience. Tonight we cause the human to give way to the divine. We must go within ourselves and find the manger. We must go inside to our hearts to find this child of power within. To do so, we must first let our hearts become like a manger, a place of peace and love. As we look into this manger of our hearts, we see that this Christ, whose birth we prepare for and celebrate, is a living, active presence within us. And when we welcome that birth, we know that of its peace there shall be no end. Thank you, Julie.
And so we have a special musical guest tonight, one of our own. I love when she sings. I love when she says yes when I ask her, and she said yes when I asked this year. So please welcome Pat Clark.
Voices
are still in these odd in-between times. But the idea of the service when we started it, and the tradition of it has been, I like to think of us in a really big living room. And that we are just spending some time celebrating the season and having that feel to it, that we're singing together and we're telling stories together, and that's the idea of it. Now it's a little formal, we've got chairs and lights and all of that stuff. But one of the things that I love is the traditions that we continue. Now, we can't have all of the traditions that we normally have, just we're not quite back there yet, but we will be. But there's one that we could continue. And so this year, one of the things that we do is every year we do the reading of 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. And so I've been, the last 2 years, I've been kind of recycling. You know, it's a role that we ask one of our sages to come and support us with. I'm using that as a very nice term, so please don't take offense to it, my beloveds here who have read for us in the past. But this year I have a person who has done it before is coming back to do it again, and I'm so thrilled about that. So please welcome Don Taylor to come read "'Twas the Night Before Christmas."
The night before Christmas. 'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were all nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mama, in her kerchief, and I and my cat, had just settled in our brains for a long winter's night. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters, and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave the luster of midday to objects below. When, what to my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. With a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be Saint Nick. More rapid than eagles, his curses they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer, and Vixen. O Comet, on Cupid, on Donder and Blitzen. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all. As dry leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle, mount to the sky. So up to the housetop the curses they flew, with a sleigh full of toys, and St. Nicholas too. And then, in a twinkling, I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur with his head, from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled. His dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard on his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke it encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed, like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old F, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word and went straight to his work and filled all stockings, then turned with a jerk and laying his finger aside his nose and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim, ere he drove out of sight, "Happy Christmas to all, and to all, good night."
That's one of my favorite memories of growing up. We used to, on Christmas Eve, we used to walk up the street to our neighbors who used to read it for us. And so many years I remember going through snow to, go up the street, even just 2 houses up the street. And so I kind of remembered that when I was driving in today and thinking about the rain and complaining about it, like, we got nothing. It's a little rain, it's not a big deal. So we've added a new reading, and so we wanted to add some new fun to the service. So we have a little bit of a more humorous reading also. So I'm going to invite Mary Beth Messer to come and share something funny with us.
A politically correct Christmas poem. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and Santa's a wreck. How to live in a world that's politically correct. His workers no longer would answer to elves. Vertically challenged, they are calling themselves. And labor conditions at the North Pole were alleged by the union to stifle the soul. 4 reindeer had vanished without much propriety, released to the winds by the Humane Society. And equal employment had made it quite clear that Santa had better not use just reindeer. So Dancer and Donner and Comet and Cupid were replaced with 4 pigs. And you know that looks stupid. The runners had been removed from his beautiful sleigh because the ruts were deemed dangerous by the EPA. And millions of people were calling the cops when they heard sled noises upon their rooftops. Secondhand smoke from his pipe had his workers quite frightened, and his fur-trimmed red suit was called unenlightened. To show you the strangeness of today's ebbs and flows, Rudolph was suing over unauthorized use of his nose. He went to Geraldo in front of the nation, demanding millions in overdue workers' compensation. So half of the reindeer were gone, and his wife, who suddenly said she'd had enough of this life, joined a self-help group, packed, and left in a whiz, demanding from now on that her title was Ms. And as for gifts, why, he'd never had the notion that making a choice would cause such a commotion. Nothing of leather, nothing of fur, which meant nothing for him and nothing for her. Nothing to aim, nothing to shoot, nothing that clamored or made lots of noise. Nothing for just girls, nothing for just boys. Nothing that claimed to be gender specific. Nothing that's warlike or non-pacifistic. No candy or sweets, they were bad for the tooth. Nothing that seemed to embellish upon the truth. And fairy tales, while not yet quite forbidden, were like Barbie and Ken, better off hidden. So they raised the hackles of those psychological who claimed the only good gift was one ecological. No baseball, no football, someone might get hurt. Besides, playing sports exposed kids to dirt. Dolls are said to be sexist and should be passé. An Xbox would rot your entire brain away. So Santa just stood there, disheveled and perplexed. He just couldn't figure out what to do next. He tried to be merry, he tried to be gay, but you must have to admit, he was having a very bad day. His sack was quite empty. It was flat on the ground. Nothing fully acceptable was anywhere to be found. Something special was needed, a gift that he might give to all without angering the left or the right, a gift that would satisfy with no indecision each group of people in every religion, every race, every hue, everyone, everywhere, even you. So here is the gift, that gift, its price beyond worth. May you and your loved ones enjoy peace on earth.
I love that one. Isn't that one funny? So in our Candlelight Service, we do things a little bit backwards because we're going to end, I'm going to do my sermon, and then we're going to end with the candle lighting. So we are actually moving the time of sacred giving before the sermon. So this is our time of sacred giving, and I'm going to invite our ushers to come forward and say thank you to all of our volunteers, and say thank you to everyone for coming out tonight and for everyone who continues to support the community financially. As we're coming to the end of this year, we are just so grateful that we still get to be here, and that we still get to do what we're doing, and we're rebuilding in a whole new way, and that we're doing this together as a community. And so we'll talk about more about that after the first of the year. But at this point, I'm just going to invite you to take your offering and place it upon your heart, and let us just breathe our light into it in this moment. That light that is that understanding of the light of the divine, that lives and moves and breathes and has its being as all beings everywhere. We are part of this divine flow. As I say that, I hear the raindrops on the rooftop and know that we are truly in the midst of flow. But there's flow in the universe that we are part of, that this infinite abundance moves to us, through us, and out into the world. And we give to that which we want to see grow and expand. And so I bless this gift, this holiday Christmas gift for this community, knowing that it goes to support CSL TV in reminding all of us of the light that lives within. And so it is. So please join me in saying our affirmation of abundance together. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am prosperous now. Yes. But I need to a little bit more. So a lot of people, we've got another surge going on, so I'm encouraging everybody to be really safe and careful and take care of yourselves. And a lot of people are getting exposed, and it's making us all have to live in a new way, right? Like especially for those of us who do services where we're required to be here. We have to kind of back up ourselves just in case there's an exposure, because you can't really be around people when there isn't, when we are exposed. And so our beloved Danielle Tucker's daughter's got COVID this week. And so that's why she's not with us tonight. So we're sending our love to Danielle and to her family, and we're praying for her daughters. And her daughter Anna was going to be our little drummer girl this year. So we're going to wait and do that again next year. So we're sending them our blessings. But I just want to take a minute to thank Randy, because he stepped up in such a huge way for us. And he's got a special song for us, so we're going to invite you to do your song. Okay, so. No. Aren't you doing Believe? I have it. I thought you were.
that's plain. There's no time to waste. There's so much to celebrate. Believe in what you feel inside. Give your dreams the wings to fly. You have everything you need if you just believe. Trains move quickly to their journey's end. Destinations are where we begin again. Ships go sailing far across the sea, trusting starlight to get where they need to be. When it seems that we have lost our way, we find ourselves again on Christmas Day. Believe in what your heart is saying. Hear the melody that's playing. There's no time to waste. There's so much to celebrate. Believe in what your heart inside. Give your dreams the wings to fly. You have everything you need if you just believe. If you just believe. If you just believe. If you just believe. Just believe. Just believe.
Okay. Again, just so happy to be here. I'm going to start with a story today. So the pastor of a local church met a parishioner while walking along the street. He stopped the man and asked why he didn't attend church more regularly. And the man replied that, your sermons are okay. That's what we all want to hear. Your sermons are okay. But he said, every single time I go to church, you sing the same songs. The pastor, who was quite proud of the diversity in the church's music, was a little confused and a little bit bewildered. So he asked the man which songs he was talking about. And he said, well, O Little Town of Bethlehem and Silent Night. I'll let that sink in. Those are the only songs he ever hears him sing at church, which means he only comes to church at Christmas. Okay, there you go. Sorry, I didn't tell it well enough. Do we get it now? Do you want me to? Okay, anybody meet me for cookies after, and I'll explain it to you. Okay. Now I don't go around guilting people into coming to church, but I love when everyone comes, right? We don't have the guilt in Science of Mind. I don't work with the guilt. But the idea of coming together to celebrate, to honor, I want our church to be the place you want to be, right? I want it to be the place where we want to be because that's where our hearts feel at home. And so that's why my theme today is come on home for Christmas. That we are coming home for Christmas. So I've been spending some time with this theme over the last couple of weeks, and a number of ideas began to come forward about what it means to come on home for Christmas, right? This year, compared to last year, more people are able to get together with their beloveds. Now, we're all going to be safe and careful and all of that with all that's going on, but more people are traveling now. I was driving home the other day and I stopped. I have a relatively new neighbor who lives up the street, and we kind of know each other a little bit, but not too much. And he was getting his trash cans, and I drove by and I stopped and rolled my window have done and said hello. And he was so excited to tell me that his adult children are coming home for the first time, who live abroad. They're coming home for the first time in 2.5 years. Like, he was telling me that his daughter got off the plane from Australia the night before. And he said, you'd never believe what it felt like to hold her, to put my arms around her. And he was crying in the middle of the street while he was getting his trash cans, talking to his neighbor that he barely knows, right? And I thought for a moment when I heard that, when I saw that, how beautiful it was. And his son was coming in too, and he was so excited to see his adult kids, you know? And I just realized that if that's one story of that, we all have stories of that. That there's so many people whose hearts have been hurting because they haven't been able to be with their family the way that they want to be. And the fact that we get to come on home for Christmas, we get to come on home to that core family, to be together to celebrate the holiday. I was really happy for him. He's a sweet man up the street. And then the other way is, like I said, that last year we had, nothing was in this sanctuary. We had the lights and we had it all, it looked like we were all here, but we had a line of chairs lined up along the side of the sanctuary, and all the practitioners sat in their space about their time when they were supposed to, so everybody could get up and do their part and sit back down. And we didn't have anyone in this room. And it was great because I was so happy, and I'm so grateful for the technology, because we were able to broadcast something out and you could still feel it even though you're in your home. And let's face it, it was kind of nice to be in our jams. Maybe next year I'll just make it a pajama night. We'll do a pajama night here, right? Like, you know, any chance I could come to work in my Christmas jammies, I will do it. So you know that maybe I will do that next year. But it was wonderful to be able to give the gift, but it felt hollow doing it. So the fact that we are here, that we have come on home to our spiritual family, to our spiritual community to celebrate the holiday. And again, I'll say it, I don't care how big we are small but mighty in love, right? The idea that we get to honor and celebrate together. We are known, this community is known for the love that binds us together. And it predated me, has nothing to do with me. I got to come in and be part of it, which I'm grateful for. But CSL-TVV is known for its love. It's known to be an open and welcoming and loving spiritual community. And the new people who've been coming in lately are saying the same thing that I'm hearing. God, you guys are so nice. You love each other so much. How is that? What are you drinking, you know? It's Pat Clark's hot cocoa. That's what we're drinking. At least that's what we're drinking tonight. But yeah, and we have a saying around here, which I think was coined by our practitioner Charmaline Kusner, but it's been shared all around, is I love us, right? I love us. When we get together, I heard that, I really meant to say that. When we get together, to be together and celebrate, there is such great joy in even just having a cup of coffee and sharing some cookies. So we get to come on home to what it means to be part of a spiritual community. But what I wanted to focus on tonight is the true reason for this holiday. How we truly come home for the holiday is to return to that pure, true presence, that essence that lives within you, your true self, the divine as you. Because that's what the holiday is really about. Now we know the story of Jesus, who was born in the manger, and there was no room in the inn, and then he was born, and there's the light in the dark time, and we all know the story of how cold it was, and you know how, I love that there's a joke going around how Mary, my favorite Christmas meme these days is Mary, having gotten her child to sleep finally in the cold, half outdoor manger, feels that the next thing that she really needs is a drum solo. You know, that's really what she really needed when the baby's finally asleep. That's what we want, is someone to come in and play the drums for them. But you know the story. We all know that story about Jesus being born to show us the way. He really was the embodiment of the light. So I've got Joan Chittister said in her book In Search of Belief. She says this: Christmas, the remembrance of the birth of Jesus, is not a remembrance at all. It's an awareness that grows in us from day to day, all our lives. Christmas, this consciousness of eternal life alive among us, is not a feast day. It's a ferial day that never ends. So I had to look up ferial. Ferial means like a normal day. It's not a holiday, right? So looking at the Christmas holiday is not something that we're celebrating just because it happened to Jesus. That's not why this is still alive 2,000 years later. This story and this holiday is alive because it's alive in us. It's a call for us to remember and to awaken once again to that Christ consciousness that is alive within us. There's a beautiful story about a small statuette in a pawn shop. A man was browsing, and amid the clutter of jars and ornaments and other things, he found a little statue of an angel holding the hand of a young boy. The man was inspired to rescue it from its oblivion of this antique shop, and he took it home to give it a place of honor among his Christmas decorations. The piece was chipped and it was dirty, but he began to carefully clean it. And he cleaned it up and he covered it with white, glistening paint. And then he painted the wings of the angel and the hair on the little boy with gold. Little by little, with each brushstroke, that dingy old statue was transformed into a thing of beauty, something that was precious to him. And so isn't this what happens for us at Christmas? We come to the end of the year, perhaps a little chipped, perhaps from our struggles through the year, perhaps a little grimy from the rub that we've kind of gone through, and let's just call it what it is. This year is another really rough one for a lot of us. It wasn't easy. And yet, Christmas inspires us to repaint the angels of our own nature with love and with joy and with peace. We're celebrating the birth of the light tonight, the birth of unity consciousness, the birth of love in the world. Jesus came. He was born to remind us all that there's more to life than working for our individual gain. He taught us the power of love and forgiveness. He taught us the power of connection. He taught us to have faith and trust in the divine that's alive as each of us. That there's power in helping one another. It's not weakness when we stand up and support those who are in need. When we help the stranger, when we help the one who's lost their way. That's not weakness, that's strength, and there's power in that. We were created to be givers, not just to be getters. We were created to have that divine flow through us and as us. To be generous of spirit and generous of the heart. That is what happens when we allow the Christ light to be born in us. So we are celebrating the birth of the Christ in the world, but we're also celebrating the birth of the Christ in us, cutting through any sense of separation and opening our hearts to know the power of connection to one another. Ernest Holmes talks about Jesus in the Science of Mind textbook. Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science, he said this: "We do believe in the unique personage of Jesus, the Christ. This Christ was more fully orbed than in anyone of whom we have record. We do believe in the person of Jesus. More of God was manifest. We also believe that Christ comes alike to each and to all. There is no one particular person predestined to become the Christ. We must understand the Christ is not a person but a principle. It was impossible for Jesus not to become the Christ, as the human gave way to the divine, as the man gave way to God, as the flesh gave way to spirit, as the will of division gave way to the will of unity. Jesus became a living embodiment of the Christ." So can you allow the Christ light to be born in your consciousness? Can you welcome it and see how it can be nurtured and loved by embracing the magic of this season? One more story. On a cold December day, when a shopper during that same busy Christmas season we're all experiencing paused on her rounds and was touched by the sight of an unshaven, homeless, elderly man sitting on a park bench. His jacket was threadbare and he had a paper bag around his neck to keep out the cold. And she just stood there and sorrowed for the man. Just about that time, a young girl was passing by and she stopped and removed a woolen scarf from her neck and wrapped it around the man's neck and just slipped away. This pure, childlike expression of the indwelling Christ power not only comforted the old man, it transformed the woman who witnessed it. She made a commitment to not live her life as an idle spectator, but to wrap others in compassion and understanding. That was what really inspired me for tonight. Because so often I hear when we see the pains and the difficulties and the challenges of the world that people come and talk to me about their own suffering over witnessing it. It hurts to see people suffer. It does. It does. It hurts to see people hurt. We never want to see that. But what I want to remind us when we take that step into realizing that we are each the hand and the heart and the life of God, then we actually do something about it. That we will move into a place of understanding God in the situation, and we allow ourselves not to think so often we get stuck in our heads. Any overthinkers in the room? Because I know you're here with me. So, because we think so much about, okay, what's the right thing to be doing, or how should I be handling this, or what is that? Instead of just hugging the person who's hurting and sharing, I'm with you. There's something about witnessing and acknowledging someone's pain and difficulty that allows healing to happen, because they don't feel like they're alone anymore. And so in this time when it's dark and the sun goes to bed early these days, and the days are short, the nights are long, and the challenges and the cold of the winter and whatever is up, right? Can we go back to that center place with this candle that we are going to light tonight and remember that God is there? Because God is here. God is right where you are. Can you allow that spark of that divine light to guide you, to nurture you, to inspire you forward? Because that's the way that we keep the Christ alive. That's how we keep the Christ in Christmas. If you want to know how to do that, everyone's talking about keeping the Christ in Christmas. All we need to do is be the light. To allow for that light that wanted to be born, that was born in Jesus, to be born in each of us. And when we do that, then we hold the light for others, and it expands, and we become points of light out in the world. And so every year we do this ritual. Every year I stand up here and then we light our candles and we sing Silent Night as a prayer, and we do a prayer. And that's what we're going to do in a moment here. But how can you make it real for you tonight? How can you make this ritualistic candle lighting an actual embodiment of the Christ that is born in you? I can't tell you how to do it. Only you know how to do this. And if you're at home with us tonight, I'm going to invite you to light a candle and sing with us. And just allow that light to expand, because it's alive as you. And so I'm going to invite our light-bearing practitioners to come forward, and then I'm going to give you a little lesson here. So this is what's going to happen. Our practitioners are going to come forward, and they're going to light. We're going to light their candles, and they're going to go down the aisle. So this is how we do this. When it's time for you to light from someone else, they will hold their candle. You hold it sideways, right, to light it. We're going to be really careful about wax in the new place.
Yes.
Okay, so if you're wondering what it is I'm talking about, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, so here comes my friend. If I can light my candle. There it goes. All right.
Good.
Everyone can stand up. We're going to sing in a minute here. Pausing where we are. Let us come together in consciousness and realize that this light is the light of God. That light of creation, that light of love. And it is alive in all of creation and in all beings everywhere, in each and every one of us. That divine light, that divine love, that presence of God that is ever comforting, supporting, nurturing, and inspiring us forward. And so I know on this night, as we come together and begin our celebration of this sacred and holy holiday, I know that the joy of this season, that the magic of this season, that the love that is the foundation of this holiday fills each of us with that divine hope, that remembrance that the light does return, that it is born in each of us, that it unfolds into the world through us. And truly, truly we are blessed. And so on this night, we go supported, guided, and loved into this holiday, into the end of this year, and catapulting us forward into 2022. And so I bless it, I give thanks, and with great love I allow it to be. And so it is.